Good evening, parents. Thank you for giving me just a little bit of your time. I did want to come to you this evening and probably one or two additional times in order to give you an update on where we are in 162. This has been quite an unusual spring. As you're aware, on March 16th we closed. It was our assumption, we were very much aware of the virus, very much aware of the reason that the governor felt that we needed to close. But however, we assumed that this would be a week, possibly 2 weeks. We were down 12 weeks. We closed the school year, as you know. We missed all of our celebrations. A very, very different school year. If there was any kind of shining light, if there was a rainbow, if there was anything out there that should have put a smile on everyone's face, it really was our graduations. That was a time when I had an opportunity to see all of the faces of our 8th graders and to wish them well to go on to high school. But still an unusual way in which we accomplish this mission, and that is one by one, family by family, to make sure that we were safe. That was our graduation this year. And as I shared with you, due to the expertise of a small group of men, we were able to put together a graduation that I think is going to be a memory that would last a lifetime. I have tapes for you. They're on their way. So I did want to share that very soon you'll be receiving a tape. But then the question was, what now? Because as much as I respect remote education, as much as I do compliment our teachers and administrators on doing a wonderful job of educating our children while they were at home, I believe that there is no substitute for face-to-face education. I believe that. I believe that a relationship between a teacher and a student is something that is unique, it's special, but I also believe that students learn best when they're in a traditional classroom setting. They learn best when they are able to interact with each other. And a school should be a happy place to be also. So a lot of things were different for us. But we did receive a notification from the governor's office late in June that we could return to a summer school program in our own schools as long as we did accomplish this task with very, very strict accommodations, very strict structure, and a limited number of students. And so we're in week 2 now of our face-to-face summer school program. Probably if you have children who are in the program, and we are open kindergarten through 12th grade, then you know that we opened 1 teacher and 9 students. We opened with 8 students on a bus, and their name is on the seat that they're to sit in every day. We opened taking temperatures for our children each and every day. We're careful. But instructionally, it is going very, very well. But one of the things that I thought about when I was preparing for today is that there have been some changes. I wanted to share that with you. And our administrative staff, and let me say, they're all back. So I'm happy about that. We're all here. But we did have 2 promotions, and so I'd like to congratulate Marvin Talley and Dr. Rob Tomage, who are now assistant superintendents. So let's give them a round of applause. But when you have promotions, that also means that there's some changes in the administrative staff, and I want to share that with you. And we had 1 retirement, and that is Mrs. Karen Clay of the Illinois. So who are the administrators who are charged with supervising our children? At the Arcadia, Mrs. Stephanie Healy, and you know that she is not only very good at what she does, you're aware that our long-term principal, Mrs. Ransford is still there. A parent told me once in a casual conversation, you know that Mrs. Healy is part of our future and Mrs. Ransford is the evergreen. I never forgot that because I thought it was such a beautiful way of putting it. But Mrs. Healy remains at the Arcadia. At the Matteson, Mr. Hulsman is there, but the change at the Matteson, Dr. Morgan, who was the assistant principal, has now been promoted to the principalship of the SOC. So he is no longer there, and there is a new assistant principal. So when we look at the SOC, who do we have? We have Dr. Morgan, who is an experienced principal from the Chicago system in addition to serving as AP at the Matteson. And of course, Mrs. McGuire returns. But looking further at the Indiana, of course, Mr. Howard is still there, so that's a wonderful thing. But what about the Huth? Because you heard me say that Dr. Tomich was now an assistant superintendent. Well, it's been my pleasure over time to promote Mrs. Brenda Calvin 3 times. She was dean of students at the Huth. She was an assistant principal at the Huth. She became principal of the SOC, but now she is principal of the Huth Knights. So please give her a call, send her an email. I think she's going to do an absolutely fantastic job. But at the Illinois, I told you that Mrs. Clay retired, and you know, she decided to actually really retire. We have a number of people with us who help us on a part-time basis, and very few people actually truly just walk away. But Mrs. Clay wanted to spend more time with her family, and we wish her well. She's done a fantastic job. But when I looked at that unique school, the Illinois, I reached out to someone who was with us several years ago. Her name is Shanita Mays. You know her because she lives in the community. She goes to church here. But Mrs. Mays was assistant principal at the Huth. She was associate principal of the Illinois. And now I'd like to say that she's come to her senses because she's back where I think she belongs, giving leadership at the Illinois. If you're not already aware, then please reach out and meet her. You will be very, very impressed. But she is a person who spent many years with us, and she's returning to her original home. With the little people at the Richton, the Richton wouldn't be the Richton wouldn't be the square without Mrs. Parham. So she's there with the 3 and 4-year-olds. So we have a very experienced team who's helping us to move forward. But when we received notification from the governor that we were able to open summer school, I called back everyone. So at the Huth and at the Matteson, you not only see Dr. Tomich, who is there, but Mrs. Calvin, Mrs. Healy is involved at the Matteson, Mr. Hulsman, Mr. Howard, everybody. Because what we wanted to do was to create a prototype, a structure for a summer school program where, number 1, we were keeping the children safe, but number 2, we were introducing new concepts. And I do believe that if one teacher with a very small number of children, just think how much you can accomplish. I think it's going to be absolutely wonderful. But this structure then gives us hope as to how we move forward. And you might say, what does moving forward look like? Well, if I wasn't doing this recording, I would have a mask. One of the things that is in the requirements issued, first of all, by the executive order of the governor, but secondly, recommended by the CDC, is that everyone in all of our buildings wear masks all day. And so we are. And you may think the reason why, but if you watch CNN, if you watch the news, you know why. And that is there's no vaccine that is a cure for the virus. What we must do is, number 1, it's recommended that we wear a mask. But in our case, it's not just recommended, it is mandated. 2, we social distance. And with the smaller children, we've been having them hold out their arms and say, okay, this is 6 feet, even if it's not quite 6 feet. They understand if you give them an item lesson. And so we're trying to teach everyone to stay a respectful distance away, and they call it social distancing. And so we opened our summer school with social distancing. But another requirement was that we take temperatures. One of the ways in which we can do that, and we're going to be thinking about that for the future, is to ask you to take the temperatures and certify. But what we're doing now is we're taking temperatures before students get on the bus. We're taking temperatures as they come into the building. We're just taking temperatures. Now, I don't know about you in your personal life, but I have taken my temperature since March 16th so many times that I have no idea, because I've been here. I've been here since March 16th, and I was thinking, all right, how do I protect myself? So I totally agree with what the governor is saying. So we are masked. Some of the teachers do have the plastic shield. Some of them have decorated them because they have younger children. We're social distancing. We're taking temperatures. But the last thing that we must do, and actually everything should be clean anyway, we're sanitizing, and no one is sharing any object, because we know that sometimes germs pass from one hand to the other when you're passing a ball, when you're sharing a pencil, etc. So we're trying to create not a germ-free environment. I don't think there is any such thing as a germ-free. But this particular germ that we know is harmful for us, we're trying to make sure that that does not happen. And so we're looking forward. Next week, I would like to talk about technology. We've done a lot in the area of technology, and I want to tell you where we're going with that. But we're moving forward. We're looking for an opening, perhaps not in the way that we looked prior to March 16th, but we're looking to open. Obviously, we would have to open wearing masks. There would be social distancing, but with social distancing, that means that 3,000 of us will not be in at once. We're looking also at hiring additional janitors so that we're cleaning at night and constantly during the day. We know that there's no such thing as a buffet anymore, that everything that we serve the children will be covered, and we have to be extremely careful about any germs that come in from the outside, which is the reason that all deliveries are now being done to our central office and to our warehouse. But we're looking forward to the reopening of 162. Today, and you know that my office is in Southland, I heard some juniors and seniors laughing. I haven't heard anyone laugh in this building for weeks. I had to go out and to see what was going on. And it had to do with a band and a song that they'd learned. But what I concentrated on was the expression in their eyes. You know, we have to smile with our eyes now because we have the mask on. And what I concentrated on also is a school really is defined only by the children who go to school there. So a building without children, I'm not sure what you would call that. But I know that there's a sense of emptiness, and I know as we walk these hallways for 12 weeks with no children, it was kind of an empty feeling. So thank you for listening to me. I want you to think about this, that we're moving towards reopening. I want you also, because we will share again and we'll keep sharing my email if you have any questions that I can answer that are not unique to your child, but something that I can answer for the group as a whole. We're thinking about how we're going to reopen. I have a team of administrators and community people that have been working on this project for 2 months now. I think it's possible for us to do, but I want to talk about the structure. I want to talk about what the day will look like. I want to talk about where we're going, but I want you to think this through. rather than just reacting to the fact that there's change. Someone came in to see me the other day, and they said, "But Dr. Davis, we don't like the change. We've already changed. We've already changed. I'm not sure that our world will ever be the same." But what I like to believe, and I do believe, that with change, sometimes, if we're creative, sometimes if there's energy, sometimes if there's courage, something can come out of change that even though it might not have been what we conceived to begin with, it might be the solution to a problem. And that's what we're looking for. How do we bring our children back? How do we resume education? And how do we adjust to, I guess you would call it, our new normal? Thank you for listening to me, and I will be back with information about technology. Thank you.